You're fired. Get out of my shop now. Richard Thornton's voice echoed through the garage like a gunshot. All the mechanics stopped working. The silence was broken only by the sound of tools falling to the concrete floor. Darius Coleman, 28, stood with his grease-stained gloves in his hands, still processing what he had just heard. His eyes moved from the elderly woman standing next to the old car to his boss's face, red with rage. But Mr. Thornton, I just... Shut up. Thornton spat the words, his finger pointed like a gun. You just did $500 worth of work for free. $500. Because this old lady forgot her wallet? You think I'm an idiot? You think charity pays my bills? The elderly woman, with gray hair and trembling hands, took a step forward. Please, sir, it was my fault. I can come back tomorrow with... You can go, Thornton interrupted coldly, without even looking at her. And you, Darius, you have 5 minutes to get your things out of here. I don't want to see your face again. Darius felt his blood boil. Not because of the dismissal, he had been treated worse before, but because of the public humiliation. Because of the other mechanics looking away in embarrassment. Because of the way Thornton treated him like trash. You know what your problem is. Thornton continued, approaching him with a cruel smile. You act like you're special. Like doing the right thing is more important than making money. Let me tell you a secret, kid. Nobody cares about your kindness. Especially people like you. The silence that followed was deafening. Everyone understood what people like you meant. Darius clenched his fists, but kept his voice calm. I did what I thought was right. If it costs me my job, then so be it. Thornton laughed, a loud, contemptuous laugh. Right? You want to know what's right? Right is you learning to stay in your place. Now get out before I call security. Darius slowly removed his gloves, placing them on the tool bench. He had worked in that workshop for 4 years. 4 years of waking up at 5 a.m. to care for his sick mother before taking 2 buses to get to work. 4 years of being the best mechanic on the team. Everyone knew that, including Thornton. But none of that mattered now. As he gathered his few belongings into an old backpack, the elderly woman approached him. Her eyes were moist. I'm sorry, son, she whispered. Because of me, you lost. It wasn't because of you, Darius interrupted gently, forcing a smile. It was because some people don't understand that money isn't everything. You need that car to run. I did what I had to do. She held his hand with surprising strength for someone so frail. What's your full name, son? Darius Coleman, ma'am. Darius, she repeated, as if memorizing it. You have a good heart. Never lose that. He nodded, not knowing what to say. When he left the shop for the last time, the afternoon sun hit his face. He paused for a moment, looking back. Thornton Auto Repair, the bright red letters on the facade. 4 years of his life summed up in one moment of humiliation. What Darius didn't know, what no one in that shop knew, was that the frail old lady who had just driven away in her repaired car was not who she appeared to be. Her name was Eleanor Price, and she hadn't forgotten any license. Eleanor was 68 years old and had an estimated fortune of $47 million, built from a chain of car dealerships she had founded from scratch after the untimely death of her only son in a car accident 15 years ago. An accident caused by a negligent mechanic who replaced the wrong parts in a rush to make more money. Since then, Eleanor had developed a peculiar method. Every 6 months, she would visit random auto repair shops, dressed simply, driving old cars with manufactured problems. She tested people's character. She looked for someone like her son, kind, honest, willing to do the right thing even when it was costly. In 15 years, she had found no one. Until today. As she drove away, Eleanor looked in the rearview mirror and saw Darius walking slowly down the sidewalk, backpack on his back, head down. And for the first time in a decade and a half, she felt something stir in her chest, hardened by loss. "Darius Coleman," she murmured, reaching for her cell phone. "Let's see if you really are who you say you are." What would follow would not only change Darius's life, but completely destroy the empire of arrogance that Richard Thornton had built on exploitation and prejudice. If this story of injustice and reversal has already caught your attention, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because what's coming will prove that underestimating the right people can be the biggest mistake of your life. 3 days later, Darius was sitting in the waiting room of a public hospital, waiting for his mother to finish her appointment. Money was running out fast. No job, no references. Thornton had made sure that no repair shop in the area would hire him, spreading lies about parts theft and inappropriate behavior. His cell phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Mr. Coleman? My name is Margaret Chun. I'm a lawyer for Price Automotive Holdings. Mrs. Eleanor Price would like to meet with you." Darius frowned. "Sorry, I think you have the wrong number." "I don't know." "The elderly lady whose car you repaired for free 3 days ago," Margaret interrupted, her voice professional but warm. "She would like to discuss an opportunity." Darius's heart raced. Price Automotive? That dealership chain. The very same. "Could you meet us tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I'll text you the address." That night, Darius researched Eleanor Price. Her story was on every business website. Billionaire entrepreneur. Founder of one of the largest automotive chains in the state. Widow who lost her only son at age 38 and channeled her grief into building an empire. And he had repaired her car for free. "Mom," he called, entering the room where she was resting. "I think something bizarre is going to happen tomorrow." His mother, Lorraine, 56, smiled weakly. "Good things happen to good people, son. I've always believed that." The Price Automotive Holdings office occupied the top 3 floors of a skyscraper in the city center. When Darius walked in, wearing his best and only dress shirt, he felt completely out of place among the marble, glass, and executives in suits. Eleanor was waiting for him in a conference room with a panoramic view of the city. She looked different. Her hair was done, her clothes were elegant but simple, and her sharp eyes seemed to pierce his soul. "Darius," she said, pointing to a chair. "Thank you for coming." "Ms. Price, I don't know why I'm here." "You're here because you impressed me," she replied directly. "In 15 years of visiting repair shops, you're the first mechanic who chose integrity over money. I want to offer you something." Darius waited, barely able to breathe. "I want you to manage a new workshop I'm opening. Salary of $85,000 a year, full benefits, including health insurance for your mother." Darius felt the world spin. Ma'am, why? You barely know me." Eleanor leaned forward. "I know you well enough. But there's one condition." "Anything." "I need you to help me with something first. Something related to your former employer." Darius' jaw tightened at the mention of Thornton's name. Eleanor slid a folder across the table. "Over the past 3 days, my team has been investigating Thornton Auto Repair. What we found is disturbing." Darius opened the folder. Documents. Spreadsheets. Photos. His blood ran cold as he read. Systematic insurance fraud. Thornton charged insurance companies for services never performed. Counterfeit parts sold as originals. Calculated overbilling. At least $2.3 million embezzled over the past 5 years. But the worst was on the next few pages. Documented discrimination. Internal emails where Thornton instructed managers to charge black customers more and be wary of non-white employees. Text messages mocking elderly customers. A clear and systematic pattern of abuse. "My God," Darius whispered. "There's more," Eleanor said calmly. "Thornton is negotiating to sell the shop to a large chain for $4 million. The deal closes in 2 weeks. If he succeeds, He'll disappear with the money before any investigation can reach him. Darius looked at her. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve justice. And because I need your help. Eleanor paused. You know the inner workings of that shop. The systems, the processes, where the bodies are buried. With your testimony and this evidence, we can destroy Thornton before he gets away. But I'll just be another disgruntled employee, Darius said. My word against his. Not if we have additional proof. Eleanor smiled, and there was something predatory about that smile. I need you to go back there. How? He fired me. He'll rehire you. Because you're going to offer him something he can't refuse. The next day, Richard Thornton was in his office when the phone rang. It was his manager. Boss, you won't believe it. Darius Coleman is here. He wants to talk to you. Thornton smiled. He loved it when they came crawling back. When Darius entered, Thornton didn't even get up. Back to beg for your job? No, Darius said calmly. I'm here to offer information. Thornton raised an eyebrow. That old woman you fired me for helping? Eleanor Price. The billionaire. Darius let the information hang in the air. She's planning to open a mega office 3 blocks from here. It will destroy your business. Thornton's face paled. How do you know that? She offered me a job. But I turned it down. Darius shrugged. I don't trust rich people. I prefer to work with people I know. It was a perfect lie. It appealed directly to Thornton's greed and paranoia. Do you have details? Blueprints? Budgets? I have everything. She showed it to me thinking I would take the job. Darius paused. But this information is worth something, don't you think? Thornton thought quickly. If Eleanor Price was really planning to compete with him, he needed this information. And Darius knew the inner workings of his shop. It was valuable. Rehire you with a 20% raise. But you bring me everything she showed you. Done. They shook hands. Thornton smiled, thinking he had just made the deal of the century. What he didn't know was that Darius now carried a tiny tape recorder in his pocket, courtesy of Eleanor's legal team. And that every word, every illegal instruction Thornton gave over the next 2 weeks would be documented. The predator had just let his prey back into the cage. But this time, the prey had the keys. Over the next 2 weeks, Darius became the model employee Thornton had always wanted, obedient, quiet, efficient. But every conversation, every questionable instruction, every moment of abuse was captured by the recorder he carried. Look at that car, Thornton said on Friday of the first week, pointing to an elderly customer's sedan. Change the brakes, but put in the used parts left over from Johnson's job. Charge her for the originals. She won't even notice the difference. Click. Recorded. That Hispanic customer over there? Add a couple hundred hours of overtime to the bill. Those guys never question anything. Click. Recorded. If anyone from the insurance company calls, you say we replaced the entire engine, understand? It doesn't matter if we only replaced the filter. Click. Recorded. But in the second week, something changed. Thornton started to get paranoid. Darius, he called on Monday morning, closing his office door. That information about Eleanor Price. Where is it? I'm compiling everything, sir. It's a lot. You have until Thursday. Because the buyer of my shop wants to close the deal on Friday. And if I find out you're messing me around, Thornton leaned in, his hot breath on Darius's face. I'll personally make sure you never work anywhere again. Got it? Darius swallowed hard. Got it, sir. That night, he called Eleanor. He's getting nervous. I don't know if I can hold out any longer. Hold out until Thursday, Eleanor said calmly. That's when it happens. Thursday, 8 a.m. Darius arrived at the shop and found 3 news vans parked outside. Reporters with cameras. A police car. And Richard Thornton, pale as a ghost, being confronted at the entrance. Mr. Thornton, is it true that your workshop defrauded insurance companies of more than $2 million? Sir, how do you respond to the allegations of systematic discrimination? Thornton tried to push the reporters away, but then he saw Eleanor Price getting out of a black car. She was accompanied by Margaret Chun and 2 federal investigators. Her eyes met Darius's in the crowd. And at that moment, Thornton understood everything. You, he hissed, pointing at Darius. You. Be careful what you say, Margaret interrupted, holding up a thick envelope. Because every word can and will be used against you. We have 2 years of recordings, tax documents, internal emails, and the testimony of 17 former employees detailing systematic fraud, racial discrimination, and criminal business practices. The blood drained from Thornton's face. Oh, and what about that buyer who is going to pay $4 million for your workshop? Eleanor smiled coldly. He canceled the deal 10 minutes ago. Apparently, he doesn't want to be associated with a criminal. One of the investigators stepped forward, showing a badge. Richard Thornton, you are under investigation for tax fraud, insurance fraud, and civil rights violations. We need you to come with us to give a statement. This is ridiculous. Thornton shouted, his voice cracking. You have nothing. It's the word of a disgruntled employee against mine. Margaret opened the envelope and began to read, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. Replace the brakes, but put in used parts. She won't even notice the difference. Recorded on April 15. She turned the page. That Hispanic customer? Add a couple hundred hours of overtime. Recorded April 17. Another page. If anyone from the insurance company calls, you say we replaced the entire engine. Recorded April 18th. With each sentence, Thornton grew smaller. His hands trembled. Sweat dripped from his forehead. We have 47 similar recordings, Margaret continued. All with your clearly identifiable voice. All instructing illegal practices. You're finished, Mr. Thornton. The other mechanics in the shop had come out to watch. Some with satisfaction on their faces. Others shocked. All finally seeing the arrogant boss exposed for what he really was. Thornton looked around desperately, searching for allies, for ways out, for anything. His eyes landed on Darius again. I gave you a second chance, he yelled, completely losing his composure. I rehired you when no one else would hire you. And you stabbed me in the back. Darius took a step forward, and when he spoke, his voice was calm but laden with years of pent-up anger. You didn't give me any chance. You used me, humiliated me, exploited me. You did that to me and dozens of others. And you know what's worse? You really thought you were untouchable. That you could treat people like trash without consequences. He paused, letting each word sink in. I didn't stab you in the back, Thornton. I just held up a mirror to you. And you didn't like what you saw. Eleanor approached, standing next to Darius. You know that saying about not judging a book by its cover? You judged a poor old lady and a disposable mechanic. Fatal mistake. The police were already taking Thornton to the car when he turned around one last time. You won't be able to prove anything. I have lawyers. I have money. Had money, Eleanor corrected. The IRS froze all his accounts an hour ago. As for lawyers, good luck paying them without access to funds. Oh, and his liability insurance? Cancelled as soon as the insurers saw the evidence of fraud. Thornton got into the police car in a state of shock. News cameras captured every second of his humiliation. The arrogant CEO being led away in handcuffs, his empire crumbling live on air. When the cars drove away, Eleanor turned to Darius. How do you feel? Darius took a deep breath, looking at the workshop where he had been humiliated weeks ago. Like I can finally breathe. Good. Because tomorrow we start renovating this place. She smiled. It's going to be called Coleman Auto Care. And you're going to be the owner. Darius blinked. Owner? But I thought. You thought you'd just be the manager? Eleanor shook her head. I bought this building this morning for a fraction of its market value. Thornton's debts, you know? It's in your name. Consider it an investment in character. For the first time in weeks, Darius felt tears burning his eyes. Eleanor put her hand on his shoulder. My son would be your age today. And I'd like to think he would have been like you. Use this to do things differently. To be better. 8 months later, Coleman Auto Care was unrecognizable. The once gray walls now shone in shades of blue and white. State-of-the-art equipment replaced the old machines. On the main wall, a huge sign read, Integrity first. Profit second. But the biggest change was in the people. Darius had hired 12 mechanics, young people without opportunities, ignored by the market because they didn't have the right profile. He gave them what Thornton had never given him: respect, fair pay, and a chance to grow. That Saturday afternoon, a family car pulled up at the entrance. A black Porsche. Richard Thornton got out, visibly aged. The trial had been brutal. Sentenced to 8 years in prison for tax fraud, plus fines totaling $3.7 million. His wife had filed for divorce. His adult children had changed their last name, ashamed. He had been released from prison 2 days earlier on bail, awaiting an appeal that would be denied. Darius, he said, his voice a whisper of what it used to be. I came to apologize. Darius studied the man in front of him, the arrogant boss now broken, destroyed by his own greed. You're apologizing because you lost everything. Not because you understood your mistake. There's a difference. Thornton lowered his head. You're right. But losing everything made me see how many people I hurt. And does that change anything? No. It doesn't change anything I did. Darius nodded. Thornton turned to leave, but paused. You've built something beautiful here. Something I never could. Because you have something money can't buy, a soul. With that, he got in his car and drove away. 2 years later, Coleman Auto Care had 3 branches. Darius had become a consultant for Price Automotive Holdings, helping Eleanor train at-risk youth. His mother, Lorraine, was in complete remission and working as a receptionist, loving every second of it. As for Thornton, he was serving time in federal prison. His assets were auctioned off. His name became a case study in business schools on how not to run a company. On the wall of every Coleman Auto Care location was a sign: treat every customer like family. Treat every employee with respect. Treat every service as if it were for someone you love. And underneath, in memory of Eleanor Price's son, who reminds us that integrity is worth more than any profit. Eleanor died peacefully at age 72, surrounded by Darius, Lorraine, and the team that had become her family. Half of her fortune went to charity. The other half went to Darius and a fund to train young mechanics. At the funeral, Darius read the letter she had left. Darius, when I met you, I was looking for my son in the faces of strangers. I found something better, hope. You taught me that kindness did not die with him. Thank you for restoring my faith in humanity. And for letting me be a mother once again. With eternal love, Eleanor. There wasn't a dry eye in the chapel. Richard Thornton tried to destroy Darius because he saw him as expendable. But he forgot the oldest lesson: never underestimate someone who has nothing to lose. And never confuse kindness with weakness. The best revenge is not to destroy your enemy. It is to build something so great that he can only watch from afar, consumed by regret. Thornton lost everything: freedom, money, family, respect. Darius gained everything: success, purpose, a chosen family, and the satisfaction of having made a difference. Today, Coleman Auto Care employs 47 people. It has trained more than 200 young people. And never, not once, has it charged anyone who genuinely couldn't afford it. Because Darius never forgot where he came from. And he never forgot Eleanor's lesson. Character is built on the small daily choices to do the right thing, even when no one is watching. If this story inspired you, if it reminded you that integrity still matters, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share. Stories like this need to be told. Because somewhere, there is another Darius waiting for his chance. And another Thornton about to learn that underestimating the right people is always a fatal mistake. Sometimes justice is slow. But when it comes, it is absolute.